I think you're absolutely right to think about looking at mutual aid and solidarity as we talk about power. So I think another critique of the self-critique of the book and where I've moved on since is we tended to think about power as this notion of power over. So there's this there's this big diagram in the book. The powerful, A, have power over the powerless, B, and you expect the powerless to act by gaining power from A. And it's a zero-sum power over kind of model. But of course, that's not the only one way that people exercise power. So this whole notion of later developed, we talked about power with, the ways that people organize horizontally to build power with each other in order to strengthen their voice. We talk about power to, which is the power to act. And sometimes that you can have power to act in spaces that aren't controlled by those who have power over. And then we develop this notion of power within, that for any of this to happen, you have to have the development of your own awareness and consciousness and sense of agency. And in my writing, I talk about the interaction of these, that it's as you develop power within and power with, you get the power to challenge the power over. And I think we often skip understanding those three steps and jump right to the dominant and dominated kind of power and powerless kind of binary without recognizing the many different ways that people act within that. A lot of my work since then is focused on those others. So examples there in that region, of course, yes, historically, the massive strikes at certain period of time, and how did those communities survive? The fundamentalist churches became networks that fed people and took them in. The work later by Marie Cirillo to create the Model Valley, which was about people sharing with each other and sharing land and pooling resources to buy up and protect pieces of land. That mutual aid there, I think, has been there throughout. As had I didn't understand at the time. I think other groups, like people like Herbie White, who was part of our group and later went on to become Appalshop, understood the power of music and resistance as a form of resistance, right? And storytelling. And it was a way of passing on traditions that kept communities strong. So those kinds of more, in a way, less overtly political forms of action become, in my later work, I would say, are absolutely critical. We just done the study in Mozambique, which is similar, which not me, but with colleagues there, where you don't see people, again, speaking out directly to the companies and the government, because it's still a pretty much one-party dictatorship. It's risky to do so. But if you study their hip hop lyrics, they're telling the stories of resistance against this and what has to happen. So it's an example of the coded forms of action that people take.